Hi there, this is Ashmi, and in this video I'm going to take you through the entire step-by-step process of creating nano combination brows. Quite obviously, the process should begin with detailed consultation of understanding your client's preferences. This step gives me a great idea of the shape and the color they prefer and makes my job really easy. I make sure to look into the reference images of how my client fills her brows with makeup, pencil, etc. and also any other microblading before afters that they would like to show me for reference. Then we kick off the actual process by applying the numbing cream for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I utilize this numbing time by making my clients fill out the consent form, and I also brief them about the aftercare and the healing process. I make sure to mentally prepare my client about the brow shock they might get, as the brows may look thicker or darker than desirable, and they may also look a little artificial for 3 to 5 days before they heal or settle down completely. Then comes the mapping step. You may see a lot of other artists actually do numbing after mapping, but I don't like that because sometimes the mapping gets a little smudged and I don't want to take any chances with my mapping. Also, my mapping process is pretty short and I end up doing the mapping within 8 to 10 minutes, so I don't lose out much on numbing. Also, one very important difference in comparison to many other artists is that I prefer mapping in the sitting upright position, whereas the other artists actually map while laying down. I really believe that the facial muscles can move a lot in both the position, and since we have to face the world in the upright position only, it makes more sense to map in the upright position. Also, in this position, it's visually easy to be able to tell if the brows are symmetrical, if the shape or size fits the face perfectly. So in my opinion, this approach is far more practical. I make sure that my mapping is as clean as possible and there is no confusion around the shape at all. Sometimes my client has highly asymmetrical and tricky bone structure and it's impossible to get the mapping to look symmetrical. So I let them know at this time only that they should not expect completely symmetrical outcome. As soon as my client understands and approves the mapped shape, I begin with the microblading process. But this is not something that I advise to the new artists. My advice to the new artist is to fix the outline first with the outline method so that they don't lose the shape. As most new artists are pretty inconsistent with the microblading depth, there is a great chance that brows might end up looking asymmetrical. Hence, outlining first with the machine serves as a great insurance for keeping the shape intact. I'm a huge advocate of combination brows, wherein I create strokes only in the relatively sparse areas and I shade the other areas which already has enough hair. Creating strokes in the area where client already has enough amount of hair serves no purpose in my opinion, and I find it a complete waste of time and energy. Thus, I really love combination brows wherein you can strategically decide where to shade and where to place strokes. It's not a cookie cutter one size fits all approach, and for every client the placement of strokes and shading is pretty different based on how their natural growth patterns are. New students can even draw out their strokes first with the pen before they go in with the microblade, so they feel more confident about their stroke patterns. You don't have to draw out all the strokes, you can simply just draw the primary strokes and add the secondary strokes later with the microblade only. You can choose to move your blade in push or pull direction, whatever feels more comfortable to your hands and body and whatever makes your strokes come out more smoothly. There is no superior method, it completely depends from person to person, artist to artist. However, you must remember to make your blade face in the right direction when you do the push or pull technique so that your strokes are smooth and there is no resistance from the skin. Since microblading is more painful in comparison to the machine shading, I prefer to get done with it while my client's skin is still numb. As you can see, I go through every stroke about 1 to 2 times to make sure that a clear and clean incision has been made. But do not go through a single stroke more than 3 times, as it could make the stroke look thick and lose its crispness and sharpness. Once your primary strokes are done, you can go ahead with the shading part and open the skin on both the sides. Once the skin is open with microblading and shading, it becomes more receptive to the secondary numbing, which I keep applying as the need arises. I'm adding secondary strokes using my machine only, so the strokes look softer and they are completely nano strokes without any combination. But for the new nano students who are good at microblading and are not very comfortable with the machine, they can first microblade their strokes and go over the same strokes using the machine in the nano technique so that it packs more pigment and makes the strokes last longer. Although once you're comfortable using the machine for creating your strokes, I would advise you to switch completely to use your machine for nano strokes, as these strokes are less painful, less traumatic to the skin. They look more natural, more artistic, more dimensional if you combine right needle combinations, and you are also called a better artist if you can create the perfect nano strokes. Although I would take an exception in the cases when my client's skin is very thick, oily, I'm not feeling very sure about the retention. In those cases, for the strokes, I will combine the method of microblading plus nano machine so that I'm feeling more sure about the retention of pigment in my strokes. So once all my strokes are marked, I apply pigment mask for about 5 to 10 minutes before I clean and check if my strokes are looking right or not. If any strokes need more touch-ups, I go inside and do that. I finish rest of the shading on both the sides. I keep switching side to side and finish both the brows parallelly so that I don't have to wait, and the process is as short as possible because anyway it's a long process. There are so many more details around this brow creation process which cannot be covered in the video. For example, how should you stretch the skin, how the needle should sound, how the blade should sound, how deep you should go. So there are so many details that cannot be covered in the video, and hence you must attend the training class. However, I have tried to pack as much information as possible in this video so that you have an overall understanding of the process. Every client is different and I finish every client differently. Some clients want the brows to look lighter than natural, some clients want them darker than their natural, so it really depends from case to case basis, which you will learn with your experience as a permanent makeup artist. There are specific steps that should be followed for the perfect second session so that your client gets the result they had in mind. So that is also something that we cover in the class. At the end, you check the symmetry and you let your client check the symmetry from the center, make any quick changes if the need be, and at the end, don't forget to click a lot of pictures for a rocking Instagram.